Welcome to Muffin Talk.
Here and welcome to Muffin Talk. This program is brought to you by the initiative Titipounamu, Study and Joy. Today's broadcast is a recording with Professor Thomas O'Loughlin, who introduces us to the Christian world of the 1st and 2nd century and their understanding of Mary, the Mother of God. Professor Thomas O'Loughlin is an ordained priest and emeritus professor of historical theology at the University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom. Here goes the recording.
Every story that we have tends to be reinterpreted in each generation. We have two processes going on in tradition. We have the tradition that we think of as constantly drawing more and more depth out of the origins and elaborating them. But we also have tradition in the sense that it gets confused with other things. One of the problems that Christianity faced when it moved into the Greek world, and more importantly, when it moved out of the Jewish world, was that it moved into a religious culture which decried the ordinary. The ordinary was awful. The ordinary was the sordid, and religion became, the ideal Greek religion is a religion of wondrous gods and wondrous heroes and wondrous divine beings who get on with their life parallel to us in an upper space. So one of the major differences between Judaism and an authentic Christianity that is located within its Jewish heartland, and a Christianity that's very much affected by the Greek culture it started to encounter in the late 1st and early 2nd centuries, is that within Judaism, God is the creator of everything. So the earth is as precious as the heavens. So we talk about heaven and earth. But in Greek culture, earth is that which is furthest from God, and heaven is that which is furthest from earth. So it's a two-tier universe. There's matter, which, and even the very word matter in Greek, hule, is a derisory word. So for instance, birth, ooh, this is a soul being locked in and being, this beautiful soul is now being tied down into matter and dirtiness and everything. And religion is escaping. It's escape from matter, escape from limitation, and escape into this wondrous world where wondrous things happen. Jesus it's emphasizing how different Jesus is. And then it's not surprising that by the middle of the 2nd century, not only is Jesus's birth being perceived as utterly miraculous, we know the stories from Luke and Matthew. And then, of course, if you're going to have a miraculous birth, you then have to have a miraculous mother. Mary is going to be somehow, and to use that phrase, alone of all the human race, a phrase that will echo down the centuries. So, for instance, she doesn't have normal parents, Joachim and Anne, but Anne is beyond childbearing. And so it's a miraculous conception. It's a conception that is different to ordinary conceptions. And Mary, from the very moment of her conception, is separate from everyone else. So she can't be allowed with other children. She can't be allowed to walk on ordinary earth. She has to live in the temple. That's the key. She, at the age of a couple of years old, when she's 3, she's presented to the temple, and she lives in the depths of the temple with the priests, and her feet must never touch the ground. She's carried around. She must not even touch the earth. And so she is completely separate. Now, there's an interesting clue. The Holy of Holies could be entered once a year by the high priest. Only the priest could enter the sanctuary of the temple. That's where the daily sacrifices took place. Only Jewish men could go into the courtyard that surrounded it. Then there was the courtyard of the women, and then there was the courtyard of the Gentiles. Now, anyone who had any experience of Judaism knew those 4 stages. Already when this text is written, it's probably written around 150. Christianity has so lost contact with its Jewish roots that it's able to think up they don't even read the Gospels carefully, where Jesus only gets as far as the courtyard of the temple. Jesus just isn't a Jew, he's a Jewish layman. He's not a priest. He doesn't ever get into where. But now suddenly Mary is more holy than the Old Testament priesthood. And they've invented this completely mythic history for her. And the reason they've invented this mythic history is the sensibility of that culture was that Mary had to be completely other. In a sense, you have the dynamic of the Gospels, which is trying to show that God comes among us. And you have a dynamic in the tradition that wants to make Mary not one of us, but this semi-divine figure. Jesus was born and was recognized as the Lord. Mary becomes the intercessor. So it's always interesting in a church to look at the number of candles lighting to Mary, because it's almost that Mary becomes the true human, but the semi-divine true human, because the all too divine Jesus seems too far away.
Out there, heroic peace is calling. In the bonds of love we meet. For the world, a new day dawning and shine.